Let me show you where we're going. If you're a seasoned blues player, then you've likely got a 12-bar blues like that in your bag of tricks, and you know how fun and easy it is to add little embellishments in the moment to spice things up. This video, though, is for new to blues players that aren't quite there yet. If that's you, we're going to dismantle this piece into a few components, and you'll see that each part on its own is within reach. And we'll cover the parts individually, and I'll show you how to put it back together into a jam like this for you to use on your own. But first, we got to zoom out and take a look at the structure of this example. This is a quick change shuffle blues in E with a stripped down version of the classic blues turnaround. Let's quickly review the 12-bar blues framework. We're going to apply the blues shuffle rhythm to our chord changes as we move our way through the 12-bar framework. To do that, I'm going to play the open 6th string and the 2nd fret on the 5th string, and we're just going to move between that and up to the 4th fret on the 5th string, right? This back and forth sound. Now, I'm playing this with my thumb. You could use a thumb pick, you could use a flat pick, and what I'm doing is placing my palm on the strings just before the bridge here so that we get a nice little muted sound. And I'm also trying to place the accents on the number, right? On the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right? We're not focusing so much on the in-between. That helps this kind of bounce and gives it that real shuffle feel. So now we just need to move this through the chord changes. The only other chords that we're going to need here are A, which is the same exact shape, just starting on the 5th string and 4th string. And then we don't have an open string to play our B chord, so we've got to use this power chord shape here. That's the 2nd fret, 5th string, 4th fret on the 4th string. And you'll see our sort of back and forth requires this little stretch. You could skip that and just play straight through if that stretch is not possible for you, right? All right, so now let's kind of walk through the bars. We've got bar 1 on the E, and we play quick change here. So we're going to the A in bar 2 and then back to E for 2 bars. Bar 5 is back on the A. Bar 6 is on the A as well. And 7, back home to E. And 8, E. 9 is that B. And 10 is A. And then bar 11 and 12, we can hang out on the E. Although we're going to talk about something else really cool you can do in the final 2 bars now. We can play the shuffle rhythm throughout the entire pattern of chord changes, but the last 2 bars are a really big moment in the blues progression. It needs a turnaround. It needs something special. So let's take a look at an example of a basic blues turnaround that we can play. If you're looking for your first turnaround, this is a really good place to start. It's got elements of that classic blues rolling turnaround with that descending line, but we've sort of simplified the picking a little bit here, but you get the essence. We're starting with an open 6th string, and then the B note, 3rd string, 4th fret, and then the open 1st string. Then we're just going to back that down and do the same thing. Then we're going to come down one more time, but this time play the 2nd fret and then the 1st fret. We're just kind of walking down here. And then after our G sharp, we're going to play the E on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So let's pause a minute. Really what we did, look at that. If we play it that way with that fingering, you can see an E chord taking shape there. That's really what we're doing, is this chromatic move down into E, tones from E, right? Then after we get there, that's the top of the final measure, bar 12. We're going to play the open 6th string, and then we really are just going to play one note here, but that's a B note, and we could view it as from this. You could even play that power chord here if you want, or if you know a B7 already, you could work in that as well. So definitely take some time and add some embellishments to this. But if you just want to stick to the basics here, and just end with that move from the B to G and then the open. Besides the turnaround, I'm using a few other tricks to spice up the bars, and one of my favorite ways to do this is with what I call micro licks. They're short 3 or 4 note licks that are easy to pop into a measure and really punch up your sound. That's our micro lick, and you can see that we're just playing around with some tones from the E major chord. What we're doing is plucking the open 2nd string followed by a triplet, and that triplet is the open 3rd string, hammer up to the 1st fret, and then the open 1st. This works really well as something to do at the end of a measure, and since we're in E and we've got those E tones working, 1, 2, 3, and 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it works really well. But I did something there, I kind of choked out. I didn't let those open strings ring. Let's see what this sounds like if we do that. 1, 2, 3, and 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And do you hear the difference? I'll let that last one kind of get choked out. Both of them work, they sound good. So do it whichever way you like, but maybe give yourself the option. So practice doing it both ways. And practice it over different chords. This works really well to kind of glue a chord change together. Say I want to go from A back to E, I might do this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I used a second micro lick in the lower strings on the A chord, which is kind of reminiscent of a boogie woogie line. Here I'm doing a similar micro lick, just playing it on the bass strings, and you kind of get more of a boogie woogie line vibe happening here when you do. But notice that we did this over A, 1, 2, 3, and 4 triplet. So it's got that same rhythm, the and then 4 triplet. The notes that I'm playing are the 2nd fret of the 4th string from our chords. I'm not moving around to do that. And then I'm hammering up from the 3rd to the 4th on the 5th string, and then finishing with our 2nd fret 4th string. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 triplet. 1, 2, 3, and 4 triplet. You can use it there on strings 6 and 5 as well. Here's a subtle move that I call a breath stroke. It's dead simple, but it helps move the tune along by breaking up the shuffle pattern. It feels a little bit like you're taking a breath at the end of a measure. This is a really easy technique, but it adds some space to your playing. We're doing a lot of this shuffle rhythm, this back and forth, and it's great to break that up every once in a while. You can do that with micro licks, but you can do it with something just as simple as this little upstroke. And 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 works great on the end of 4, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And all I'm doing is just releasing everything from the fretboard. I've just got open strings, right? And I'm doing a brush up through the strings, and I'm not super careful about which strings I'm hitting, though you can get a little bit of a different vibe by going high strings or low strings, right? That's up to you. Just which ones you want to target for this breath that we're taking here. And the cool thing is I'm doing this as a brush up with my index finger as a finger picker, but if you're playing with a flat pick, you can just come up through the strings. The key is that you got to come back down in rhythm. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And I'm doing that in 2 ways. I'm coming down on the fretboard to get back in position to play my chord, but I'm also coming down on the strings because I got to do that palm mute. So both things are really happening to mute out the strings here. And here's one of my favorite chord moves that I call the E chord collapse. You'll hear things like this in Texas blues, think Pride and Joy, stuff like that. It sounds great and it's fun to play. This move is a whole lot of fun. I call it the collapsed E chord because what we're really doing is playing out of this E chord shape, and then I will collapse or just kind of flatten out my ring finger so that it plays the top four strings. Really, it's already situated at the second fret of the fourth string, and then we're getting a bar happening on the top three strings. So we get that cool bounce sort of back and forth as we go from this collapsed E chord back up to the E chord. When I say up, it's just kind of like you're standing your fingers back up into position. I'm not moving around here. I'm doing this all while holding my position. It's a really fun thing to do. And what we're doing here is playing our bass a couple times, just pumping it like we would on the one and, as if we were doing this, right? Looks the same. I'm just not in that position. Instead, I want to go ahead and hold this E position so that I can do this collapsed E chord really quickly. 1 and 2 and. So I'm going 1 and 2. That's an upstroke. The 2 and then and is another upstroke. So 2 upstrokes back to back. One with our collapsed E chord, and then one we're standing it back up. And you can just repeat this little rhythm. It's a fun thing to do, and it sure will add a lot of energy to your shuffle. Now that you've got an idea of all the parts and pieces, we need to bring this together into a complete jam. So I'm going to play through everything from start to finish, and I'll put little notes on the screen so that you can tell what I'm using, whether it's a micro lick, the breath stroke, or the cool E chord collapse. Here we go. Of course, there are other ways you can punch up this tune, and there's so many ways that you could even rearrange the few ideas we've covered here to come up with a jam that's all your own, and you should definitely do that. It's a great way to learn and have fun, and you really get to the flexibility of 12-bar blues. Plus, it will help you learn other 12-bar blues songs quicker. Think Sweet Home Chicago, Before You Accuse Me, even Pride and Joy starts to make a little sense the better you get at these basics. So if you learned something from this lesson, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, do all that stuff. And if you want to go deeper and grab the additional lesson materials, then check out the lesson page at the link in the description. Until next time, practice smart and play on.